So I think we do that too as believers. It's like, well, what this person look like? If I bring them back, are my friends going to clown me for being like with this looking person? Like that's not even my, and then you almost justify it as if to be like, yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, that ain't my typical type. That ain't my type.
And
Yeah.
a lot of that, I think, if we're truthful, it comes because I mean, we chuckle like we chuckle or we laugh like whenever somebody would say like, if he or she can't use my comb, don't bring him home. Meaning that if it's a white person or an Indian person or Asian person, don't bring him back to the house if they ain't got my color skin. And I chuckle when people say that, but really, what it really speaks to is a person's bias or prejudice. And it's like God may not respect that joint. Like God may overlook all that stuff. Like earlier tonight, we were having a conversation about something, and I was saying how I can't remember if I read an article or watched a video, but it was a guy who, and he was older, probably older man, probably 40s, but in his past, when he was earlier and he was a teenager, he had committed sexual assault. But since then, he had done his time and was a upstanding citizen, and he was he was a pastor of a church. I don't know if he was a pastor or a minister of a church, whatever. I forget, but they found out, and it was like an uproar. It was like an uproar. I believe he ended up having to resign. But in my mind, I was like, well, the article or the video made clear that it was like 25 plus years ago, and it's like,
Yeah.
but in our prejudice, it's like we would condemn somebody that did something 25 years ago. But it's like, and in my mind, when I read it, I was like, wow, I wonder if that was the Lord that he actually concealed or hid his past, because people would judge him. And it's like, what, why somebody being judged about something that they did 25 years ago, that they may have done their time, paid their debt in society, and also live a different life for 20 plus years. But it's like, my point in saying that is that, like, because of our bias, something like that, the Lord would actually have to consider that from us, because we're so biased or prejudiced. It's like things like that, which actually would unlikely allow us not to be able to be with somebody like that, even if they were somebody who was everything that we needed and we wanted and needed in a spouse, and the Lord knew that.
Yeah.
It was like, because of our bias, we could potentially conceal that aspect of the person to us. And we feel, oh, you lied to me, you betrayed me. I didn't betray you. I didn't do anything wrong. That happened 20 years ago. Like, but because of what I did in my past, you would judge me, and I'm not that man or woman anymore. And I feel like, that's just another aspect that I feel like sometimes, people are like, oh, you betrayed me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because actually, I was going to say, I actually had to apologize to a friend I had reconnected with recently. Remember, I was telling you about that, where I still seen her as our like 17, 18-year-old selves. And I'm like, I apologize because I still viewed her through that. Now, whether or not she was still operating in that, I did not know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I allowed what I knew about her from being a 17-year-old or 18-year-old around this person, like, really affect how I viewed her before getting to re-know her again as this adult who had a family, whole husband and family. Like, who are you now? And even if you're the same person, or doing the same thing, it's like, the Lord is who judges the hearts and who judges the matters of our hearts. And it's almost like, we need to see it from the Lord's perspective, the heart of the matter. And we don't get down to that when we are, trying to explain away or be justified in the minutia of, it's like the minutia of the person, if that makes sense. And I just was like, that's what I was thinking about when you were talking. I was like, I myself had to apologize. And not that it was anything as heinous as, SA, but with that person. But I just was like, man, I didn't realize I held on to that for years. And we could do that. We can do that. Let's say it was, I don't know, somebody from years ago, like in high school that you had beef with or whatever. But now the Lord's like, this your spouse, but like, hey, this who, I'm bringing them around. So, for you, this is a totally different person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, in high school, they were this and they were that. And it's almost like if you allow that old perception of that person to be, to define them, and it could still define, they could be, that same person.
Yeah.
But without the Lord, you don't know. You're just actually writing story. You're making you are making perceived assumptions, like, you are preconceiving assumptions about them based on what you thought you knew,
Yeah.
never really knowing the person. And I don't know if I said it in a previous podcast episode, but that was what, that good friend who, like, kinda pulled me up in my season of waiting, that's what she did, but she said that her first date went so bad that
Ask this guy, what is your problem?
yeah, she was like, because she said, "Oh, it was horrible." And it actually didn't check. That date did not, because it was a blind date. Her friends, knew somebody who was like, "Oh, yeah, I think it'd be great for you." But she didn't see it. She herself did not see it on that date. That first date, like, she wouldn't be married today if she had
Initial emotional reaction.
exactly.
Yeah.
And like, she was like, "Yeah, it was horrible. Like, I actually was never gonna go out on a date with him again."
Yeah. No,
And
I mean,
yeah.
it's funny because a couple of years ago, we were actually visiting my hometown, and I saw a guy there. We, my wife, and my family, we were at the beach and with our children, and there was a guy that was like, "Hey, Dale." And when I looked up, I'm like, "Hey," and my wife was like, "That's your friend?" I was like,
No, 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 sorry. No, your aunt said your cousin was like, "Oh, Dale, that's your friend?" And I was like, "It is now."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
what was funny what was funny is like I was telling my wife and my cousin. I mean, this dude used to fight all the time in high school. Like we used to, like, fist fight, like busting the face. Like we used to
Oh,
fight
that
all the time in school.